I have been gardening off and on for about 10 to 15 years, and I have never had a garden with this much success. It is beautiful. My corn is like 8 feet tall. My herbs have gone bonkers. I get about a pound of green beans every day, strawberries, enough for my kids to come in and pick every day. Hi there, this is Tiff, the informal farmer, and today I am going to give you an updated tour of my homesteading spring going into summer garden in Southern California. So first in the garden, I have my first type of corn. I don't remember if it's a bicolor sweet or a multicolor jewel corn, but in my last video, it was probably like this tall, and now it's this tall. I'm thinking this is the multicolored jewel corn because it is a little bit on the smaller side. Here I do have about 1.5 feet raised beds. So it's starting to get it's got the silks on there, they've pollinated, and so now the ears of corn have developed. So corn you want to plant in patches of about 5 foot by 5 foot with the seeds spaced about 1 inch apart because they do pollinate each other and they rely on the wind for pollination. So they have to be close enough for the wind to pollinate. Here I have this is my romaine lettuce that has obviously started to go to seed. And if you look closely, you could see in there the little white fluffy pieces are where it's starting to go to seed. And what I've done is I've got these organza bags that I've tied around them so that I can collect the seeds. Now, some of them have already blown off in the wind and they are going to self-seed. So next year, whenever they're ready to start growing again, the seed's already in the ground and it will start growing on its own. So you don't really have to look at a calendar and watch the weather and wonder when it's the right time, because it'll just start coming up on its own. As this bunch right here gets closer to being ready, I'll put the organza bags on it as well. And then I'll never have to buy romaine seeds ever again. Down here are my pepper plants. With the weather warming up now, they're just starting to take off and grow and get a little taller, get more leaves. And if we zoom in close enough, you can see there's actually some peppers on there. These are all jalapenos. And you may have noticed that I'm standing under one of my 3 garden trellises. Check out this link where I show you how I installed them all by myself. And I currently don't have a lot growing on them because when I installed them, I didn't plan ahead. I didn't think I was going to get the trellises until maybe next year or next season. And we went ahead and got them. So I put some seeds for peas in, but they're actually not doing that great. So we'll try these again in the fall. But I'm working on transitioning my garden, appreciating what I have growing, and then getting ready to transition for a succession planting. Here's my other corn. I think this is the bicolor sweet corn because it's much taller. I can't even get it pictured on there. It is much taller. I can't reach the top. So that's pretty cool. I've never had so much success with corn. The last time I got corn close to this, which wasn't even really this close, I did get a few ears to develop, and unfortunately rats ate it. So this time I have cats on my homestead, and they help keep all the rodents away. So moving further down my garden, this is my strawberry patch, and it has grown and developed wildly. So I have 2 sections in my strawberry patch. This section right here are my strawberries that I planted this year, actually just a few months ago. And then this patch here is what I had left over from last season. So here in Southern California, the strawberries are able to survive the winters and the summers, and they just keep growing. And what's really crazy about these strawberries, so once you have a single successful strawberry season, you won't ever have to buy strawberries again because they shoot these little runners off, and they will root. So you could see here how this one has, I don't know the scientific term, but like a little nub here. And once that nub hits dirt, give it enough time, it will start to root. So we've got one here, and you can see it's just starting to get little baby roots on there. So I've actually been able to give away some strawberry plants to friends to help them start to grow their own strawberry patches, because my strawberries are out of control. And as much space as they take up, it's worth it to me because I absolutely love strawberries, and it's the highlight of my kids' day to get to come out here and pick as many strawberries as they want and just eat them right off the vine. So here's my second trellis, and it has some amazing green beans growing on them. Now, we already picked them for today. I'll give you a peek on how many green beans we picked today. But what's wonderful about growing them on this trellis is here you could see some that the green beans just hang down. They're readily available and easy to harvest. My husband was out here earlier picking them, and he said, this is my favorite way to pick beans. They're just available, ready. So like these ones are a little bit on the small side. And I'm sorry, I don't remember the variety of a green bean that it is. But I actually like them like this in our house. We're even picking them and just eating them raw, because when they're this size, they're tender enough. The string green bean, it doesn't get caught in your teeth or anything. It's just tender, delicious, crisp, even a little bit sweet. And then if you notice, here's a hole in my leaf. I've got some more here. So I have been seeing some caterpillars out here. So those are some of the signs. You would also see droppings. So as I'm out picking green beans, I just keep an extra eye on the lookout to see if I can find the caterpillars. And conveniently, my chicken coop is right there. So if I find a caterpillar, I just walk back there and toss it in the coop, and they are happy girls. On the other side of I wanted to show you. Today I realized that I'm growing a green bean that I forgot I planted. It's called a yard-long green bean. So you could see here, there's the end of it. These green beans are so long, and they're not even done growing. So here's some smaller ones, and here's some more. Yard-long green beans. You could pick them like this. They'd probably be really tender, sweet, and you could almost use them like a spaghetti because they're so small and low carb, I guess, spaghetti for you. So back here, I have some red grapes, and I did some other videos or shorts where I featured how I grow my grapes and trellis them, because here in Southern California, we have very hot summers. It's been in the 90s the last couple days, or week and a half actually. And so the heat could be really hard on the crops. So I do have some sunshades. My garden is actually built, let's go back. My garden is actually built inside of an old batting cage. So the people who lived here before had a batting cage, and it had the batting net on it, but it was really falling apart, and we decided to turn it into a garden bed. And so we got these sunshades up, and then we've got the grapevines, which help protect all the crops from the sun. And that's probably one of the bigger contributing factors to how I've had such a successful garden this year. Okay, so this is my first time trying to grow garlic. And, it's not great, but it'll be fun to see how it turns out. And then back here, I have carrots. And my nephews were here on Tuesday for 4th of July. And they just had a blast back here picking all the carrots. And I was showing them I was telling them how to know when they're ready and how to pick the best ones. I didn't take a picture. I wish I had a picture to show you of all the carrots that we got, but I can try to snap a picture of some of the carrots that we still have in the fridge. So here is my third garden trellis. And on this one, I planted cucumbers after I had already installed it. So they were really going slow, but now that it's starting to heat up, they're really taking off. And honestly, I have never had success with cucumbers. This is the most successful my cucumbers have ever been. Again, I'm going to contribute it to like the shadiness, probably the best trellising system that I've ever had. And then I have to make a separate video to detail what we do to our soil. But even when we grew in this garden with the shade and the different trellising systems, my garden still was never this good. So I think the number one contributing factor of the success of my garden has been the soil and what we do to it. So stay tuned for an upcoming video on what I do to my soil. Here, see these giant, beautiful flowers? So these flowers are what's called Queen Anne's lace, also known as carrot flowers. It's come to my attention that people don't know that what Queen Anne's lace is really just the flowers of carrots. So, fun fact, if you leave your carrots in the ground too long, they start to go to seed, and they have these beautiful flowers. And I'm letting them stay on, well, for one, they're beautiful, beneficial insects. But then, okay, my phone died on me there for a second, but jumping right back into it. To summarize, these are carrots. When they've gone to seed, the flower is called Queen Anne's lace. It is beautiful. They put them in bouquets, and people use them for weddings and table arrangements and everything. But what I'm going to do with these is similar to the romaine lettuce. I'll be putting the organza bags on them. What I have here are a few different bush beans. So these bush beans just grow as like little bushes on the ground. And again, I've got green beans here. This one's a good size. Sorry, again, I don't know what variety they are, but they're doing really well and they're delicious. We still eat those ones raw. Next to the green beans, the bush beans, I have, see those fuzzy guys? Does that look like anything familiar? That's asparagus. That's an itty bitty asparagus. I planted these from seed this year because when we redid the garden beds, I lost my crowns. Asparagus grows in like a root ball. They're called crowns. Because it took so long to change the dirt and turn over our beds, I let them dry out and I lost them. So these are all planted from seeds, and they take a couple years to really get where they're giving you good stalks of asparagus. But like this little one, that's like a little formed asparagus. I'm not afraid to eat it. Yeah, very asparagus-y. When I have the bigger stalks, I mean, I eat them straight from the garden. Actually, with it being that little and that young, kind of have like definitely a strong asparagus flavor, but kind of peppery too. Almost like an arugula. Interesting. Okay, there's the ladies, my bug eaters. On this end, I've got my tomatoes, and I've got some, I'm actually getting tomatoes already. And as you can see, they're very unruly and unmaintained. I have not trimmed any of them, cut them back, thinned out the plants at all, taking care of suckers. I've done nothing. They are completely neglected besides being watered and having good soil. So that is on my to-do list, is to come out here and kind of manage them. And I'll definitely be making a video about how I do that and my trellising system for my tomatoes. I've tried so many different trellising systems for tomatoes over the years, and I think I finally got it almost where I want it. So look forward to that in an upcoming video. And next is one of my favorite things in the garden. I went a little crazy when I planted pumpkins this year, and I've never had success with pumpkins, but this year I have so many pumpkins, and I love it because my animals love to eat pumpkins, and they're great for their digestion, and the seeds help with deworming. So it's like a natural dewormer, and they're a great snack, and it keeps them entertained, and they love it. So here's kind of where they start, and they're going all the way back there. So what I did with these is I planted them in the bed, and as they grew and vined, I kind of just threw them off the side, and they're kind of growing along this back here so that they're not taking up too much space in my main pathway, but my main pathway is still getting crowded by tomatoes and pumpkins and something else down there that I'm not quite sure what it is. But as you can see here, I've got a little pumpkin there that's already starting to turn orange. And there's this pumpkin here that's quite orange. Here's some more cucumbers growing on this trellis. And then, oh, here's this one that I'm not quite sure what it is. In doing more research last night and looking at my seeds, I think it is a type of a pumpkin. These are my squash plants, zucchini, yellow squash. I have one Swiss chard still in here. But take a look at this pumpkin back there. And it's actually sitting on top of 2 other pumpkins, so that'll be fun. Okay, so like I said, here I have squash, and it's hard to tell, but in between, there's watermelon or cantaloupe vines. So with these tiny flowers on here, that's my watermelon or cantaloupe vines. My squash, you couldn't see dirt here the other day, and I came through and I thinned it out, and I took out some of the older leaves that were starting to not look as good, have holes, looking a little more yellow or diseased, something like this. So I went through and cut those out. And so now you can actually see the dirt. Hopefully those watermelon or cantaloupe vines, see, here's another watermelon or cantaloupe vine. Hopefully they'll get more light and start to be a little bit more productive. I don't know if you noticed this. I've got this cool yellow squash in here. I would pick this one today. Honestly, couldn't tell you what type it is. It definitely grows more like a summer squash and tastes and cooks like a summer squash. But I don't know what kind it is. It's delicious. It's different than a zucchini or a yellow squash, but it's really good. And then growing in here between all my squash plants, these leaves here that have the holes in them, those are beets. Let me see if I could, oh, nothing growing on the trellis this side. That's the one that's got the green beans on this side. And look at today, already, just from yesterday, I've got more that are perfect size for picking. Okay, sorry, back on this side for the beets. So since I trimmed back, you could see here the stem of the squash, and here's you could see where I cut them. So all these leaves were just covering these beets. But now that they have a little bit more sun, hopefully they'll start to take off. The bulbs will get a little bigger and get ready to be picked. And then the last plant in this bed here is onions. And I know I talked about it in my last video that I didn't think it was a bulbing, well, I had initially planted it thinking it was a bulbing onion, and it had been planted for months and wasn't bulbing or anything, doing anything really. So I was like, well, maybe I just had a bunching onion and it's getting huge. Well, now they've started to bulb, and they are so delicious, so tasty, tender, sweet. And the best thing is we don't have to go to the store. Anytime we want an onion, we just come outside and pick it. I'm really regretting not planting more. So that's something I will be doing more of for my next season of onions. But take a look. They look a little bit unruly, okay? Some of them might have got knocked over a little bit. But here you can see there's like twin onions. Here's one that I completely cut the top off, because I was using the greens because they were delicious. But that's starting to come back. Oh, here, look at this big boy. Look at that one. That one is ready to come out of the ground. And over here you can see that's what they look like when they're going to go to flower. So typically what you would do is you'd push that over and break it so that the energy will go to the bulb of the onion instead of the flower. But if you've caught on, I'm trying to collect the seeds. So I'm letting at least one go to seed. So then I'll put my organza bag on it, collect the seeds, so I don't have to buy seeds for next season. Here's a sneak peek at something I don't usually show. I also have a succulent addiction. So this is how I have my succulents. You know, in my free time, I come out here and I play with my succulents. Oh, and this is a really cool feature. So this is central of my garden, right? I've got 2 beds over there. I've got 2 beds over there. And right here in the middle, I've got my water source. So we have our hose on our fancy hose reel. We just wind it up. And then in this really cool mailbox, that's where I keep my organza bags, my garden gloves, my shovel, my pruners, everything that I need for when I'm out here in the garden. So it's super convenient. I don't have to track all over the yard and try to find my tools. Those are my tools. Nobody touches them but me, and I use them for the garden. So in this last bed, it's looking a little sad, okay? It's not my most successful bed, but we've had to borrow some of the dirt here for planting our fruit trees. This is actually the section where I had planted lettuces, and some kale came up. We're like way late. So I don't know what happened. I've got to research that and figure out why none of my lettuces came up. Some peas that I featured when I was using them to plant in a video. This is my lavender. So I have a couple really large lavender bushes around the property. And one way that I try to make some money on our homestead is by selling excess. And when my lavender has flowers, I list it for sale. But most people come back saying that they want the plants, not just the flowers. So what I've started to do is when lavender grows, it starts to grow tiny little lavender plants all around under like the tree line, the bush line of it. And so I've started to pick those and I've put them in my garden. So here they have a more controlled environment, consistent watering, and then I'll pot them and start selling those to my customers. This is cilantro. I really don't have luck with cilantro in Southern California, but I'm not going to give up. I love cilantro. We use a lot of it at our house, so I'm going to keep trying. But as you can guess, I let it go to seed. And if you look closely here, it's already flowered. So let's look at some flowers. So these are the little white flowers. And then after it's done flowering, this is its pre-seed phase. And so these green balls are going to dry up and release the seed. So what am I going to do? I'm going to put an organza bag on it and try to capture all those seeds. So I will keep trying cilantro. And here I've got a big rosemary plant, which we do use a lot of rosemary in my house, but not that much. Rosemary grows so good here in Southern California. As much as I trim it or sell it, I will always have a surplus. Same with my oregano. This is my oregano that it's almost done flowering. You can see little bits of white in there, but it's about to go to seed. Now, oregano I don't grow from seed because as it grows, it creates these like long branches, and when they touch the dirt, they start to root. So I don't need seed. I give away oregano. I sell oregano, the plants, the cuttings, everything. I mean, it's like almost like a weed. It grows so good here that I can't use enough of it. So I end up trimming it and throwing a lot away. But I'm going to try making my own oil of oregano. So if anyone has any tips and tricks or good recipes on how to do that, send them my way. Because I read that when they're in the flowering stage is the best time to use your oil of oregano, or to make your oil of oregano, because the oregano is the most potent at that time. And then last in my little herb area is my parsley. So As you might be able to tell, I've let it go to flower, and I will be capturing those seeds as well in my organza bags. I have cut some back, so some here, like this one, I cut away the flowering parts and it started to bush out more, so it's more that I can use in my food and cooking and everything. Um, but like this year is something new for me. I'm just going to try to collect seeds from all this stuff that instead of just pulling it out and throwing it away or pulling it out and feeding it to the animals, I'm going to try to collect seeds, which is new for me. So again, any tips or tricks, send them my way. But I had heard about the organza bags and seen how that worked, and it makes sense. So I'm going to try that. I'll let you know how it goes. But that's pretty much it for my garden tour. July 2023. Late spring, technically it's summer, and but it's been a weird year, so that's how it's going. If you like this content and want to see more like it, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up. Definitely leave a comment, and that way, if you subscribe and click that notification bell, you can always be alerted when I have a new video. Thanks for joining. I hope you enjoyed the tour. Let me know if you have any questions.